going to feel empowered in whatever it is that you're doing. So that would be my tips. I mean, I could tell you all day about what lipstick, color codes, what makeup or what have you, but that's not really going to hit the essence, because people can still feel ugly on the inside,
of course,
if they don't, have that knowledge and esteem to really feel pretty on the outside.
So it's working on the mind first and getting that together, and then the rest, comes through.
Very much so.
So you started. Like I said, one of the things that I do love is the empowerment that you help women to achieve. Just that, what you just said is really not from only the beauty standpoint, but from, being healthy within, I guess you could say. You look at, and I was saying this is timely because we just saw Hidden Figures. And when we watched the movie, I couldn't believe the story, and that story was never shared. And it's not only for women of color, it's women, period.
Correct.
These women helped, to get us to the moon. And it's just, so it's timely in the sense that women in general have to know their value, and women of color, particularly just because of what you had mentioned about the historical nature of what beauty actually is. So it's really timely, and I think Hidden Figures is kind of a game changer.
True, very true.
Having Michelle Obama in the White House, game changer.
Correct.
The psyche, I think, of America and women of color has shifted because they see it can be achievable. And look at who we have or had in the White House. She is a beautiful woman. So, it's a game changer. And I think those things really also help to change our mindset.
And it's very important, too, to start talking to your children early about those missing things in history. I was talking to some women a couple weeks ago, and they said it's very interesting because you have a very strong sense of culture. And I started thinking about that, and I said, well, my grandmother, my father, they were sitting you down, my mother were sitting you down, teaching you your history. And teaching you the missing parts that were not in the books, where the schools have changed and gotten more. We came through the era of multiculturalism, but prior to that, it was a very Eurocentric view. So I just kind of want to mention, I have a book called
talk about that.
Eric and Ruby.
I got my copy too.
Very good, very good. But I wanted to bring it out because, we're representing the characters here of people of color. And, this was written based on an experience I had in the specialty food industry and realizing that you were really making history there. So it's important to show children as well as women that you don't necessarily always have to be the singer or the rapper or the dancer, that you can get into other fields, like the food industry. You can get into, the artist industry of the food industry, things that you just don't even think of. NASA, I mean, from the way the story is being told with Hidden Figures, I mean, we're talking about the people who are running the show and not getting the credit.
The woman, I don't remember her name, but they literally called her a computer. And the way she, did the calculations, and it just blew my mind. I didn't even know this existed. And like I said, it was a game changer. It really was. And I just thought the movie was outstanding, and what it represented and what it showed.
And it makes you think, what if you had seen that as a child?
Would
that have changed your direction? Would that have changed your thought process? Would that have changed your work experiences?
Exactly. It was just amazing. And women of color, absolutely, women in general, what they were able to do and what they were able to accomplish then, and the story was never. I didn't hear about this until a year ago when they were advertising the film. So it's really outstanding. You were talking about your book, Eric and Ruby's Healthy Juice Stand. Why did you decide to write the book?
I was with a team where we won the Sophie Awards, which is like the Oscars for food. And
the Oscars for food. Okay.
They had huge Oscar stands. It was actually here in New York City. I have this great photo in between the stands. But they have a whole parade and all the food. And this is how you get your food to market. Another part of entrepreneurship, getting your food into Whole Foods.
Okay.
So Rutgers Innovation Center, I became a speaker for Rutgers Innovation Center because we were so successful getting USA Today and other media hits, which is some of the projects that I was working on. But in any case, what I started to realize is that as a child, they didn't really teach you about food, the proper way to eat, what the nutrients were, any of those things.
You had the pyramid.
That was it.
Right.
that was it. And you had 1 week of the presidential, health thing, and that was it. So I said, what if they had a book that was really kind of encouraging kids to make healthier choices? Right. So instead of grabbing for the soda, maybe you would take the fruits and vegetables in the household and get creative and make those juices. And especially in the African American community, they need references for that. So that's one of the reasons I created the book. And I also wanted them to understand when you're doing entrepreneurship, you're dealing with the world. So the book is written in 3 different languages. It's in English,
was great.
French, and Spanish.
Right.
If I could have fit more languages on that, I would have done that. And I also created it so that it's a teaching tool. It actually has a supplement for teaching lessons. So in my mind, I'm thinking it's the beginning of a curriculum.
Right. Yeah, I love the interactive part in the back with the crossword puzzles and the little games that students get, the activities, that the children can play. What age group would you say the book is for?
I've been told it goes from different teachers and people in the education industry from preschool all the way up to 6th grade. Okay. Which frightened me for a moment because they said the kids don't read. So their lower level learners would actually be able to use the book. And then with languages, it can expand. It can. All the way up even to high school. Right. And the activities that are associated with it, as far as doing the juice, doing the drinks and stuff, that can go into entrepreneurship up until high school as well.
Right, up until high school.
But probably need a little higher level writing, reading into it.
Right, yeah. I love the way when I saw the 3 languages, I'm like, this is really, really cool because it not only teaches entrepreneurship and working together and healthy eating, but it also introduces students to a language as well. So I thought that was great.
And that's at Eric Ruby Healthy on Twitter. It's also on the page I-am Erica.com. It's on Barnes & Noble and Amazon as well.
So the illustrations in the book they're beautifully done.
Thank you.
Did you do the illustrations or did you?
I'm really talented, but I'm not
because these are amazing. They're so good.
Yeah.
They're really good.
But I pretty much conducted it. It took a long time to make the characters come together and get them quite right, and also to do each scene.
Right. Yeah, it is. Now, so what do you think? A lot of people, I've written a book, and a lot of people always ask me, how'd you do it? What'd you do? How long did it take you from start to finish to get this book to market?
Well, the writing of it, I'm a writer, so it didn't really take me that long to write it. Then, because it's also a children's book, and the concepts were easier because I was going through an experience, so it was just adapting that experience. To actually do the photos, the pictures that you see, that took the longest. So I would say that took probably about 6 months because you're constantly going back and forth, making sure the pictures are right, making sure the scene's right, make sure what you're saying is what's being conveyed and everything. And then I had written a book previously in 2002 called The Plus Models Little Instruction Book, Volume 1. Which is out of print, but we're going to relaunch it at some point because a lot of information needs to be updated, obviously, since 2002. So with this, so I knew what the process was for independent publishing.
Got it. So you had already gone through that, right?
So I went through the publishing for that, and now since 2002, you have Amazon. So that was a major step. But we had some little snafus. In business, there's always some sort of drama or something that comes up that has to be corrected, and there's still working models with it that I want to fine tune and so on and so forth. And then it was uploaded on Amazon first, and then we had to go through a process of Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
Which was tough because Barnes and Noble was going through a new process.
Okay. Right.
So finally I did that, and I did my first book signing, I guess it was almost about a year or two ago. Yeah.
And are there plans for part 2?
Yes, there's actually a plans for 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
So I think these kids could do a lot.
They could do more.
Good. And the other thing I want to bring out is it talks about advocacy too, because the kids go to Washington D.C. and we address the issues of the health concerns with children. So that's something to also note.
Right, and again, very timely, especially with Mrs. Obama's initiative in the White House, and so it's very timely that healthy eating, and it really does have an impact. So this is a great read, and I thank you for sharing the book with people. Especially, I love the languages. I couldn't get over that. I thought that was really great. My daughter took French in high school. She's in college now. And when I said, you have to read the French part for me, please. So it's great. Yeah. It's awesome.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because I think that's also was in the back of my head, because I used to have a routine before I even got to school. And the routine was I had to study Spanish.
Okay.
As young as like 6 years old.
Wow. That's great.
And then do the piano lessons and so on and so forth, and then go to school.
Right.
So, that's what was in the back of my mind too, just having that kind of routine in text.
Absolutely. So that was really great. So you talked a little bit about your media experience. You have your own TV, and I think in radio. It's American Enterprise.
America's
Enterprise.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that and how you got into the world of media. You said I mean, like I said, I read your bio. It's you've done a lot. So how did you get into media, and why are you continuing in media?
It starts really far back.
Okay.
And it's a good encouragement for students. I thought I was going to be a lawyer because I used to watch Judge Wapner. Did you ever see Judge Wapner?
Yes.
I really thought I was going to be a lawyer.
Yes.
And somewhere around 7th grade, junior high school, I ran for elections. And, everybody's like, okay, whatever. But it was very impactful because, first of all, I grew up in Cherry Hill, which is a majority white, Jewish, affluent community. I was a big girl, tall girl, not necessarily very large, but a tall girl. I was thick. And the fact that I was even running, there was no minorities that had ever ran for president. There was no females that had ever ran for president, let alone African-American female. So when I went to go do the speech, God took over, and the words and the power that came out of my mouth really took over, because what was said to me 2 minutes before getting on was there were girls making fun of me like 2 minutes before I was actually getting on. And a friend of mine who was the president the year before said, don't worry about them, and a couple other words, and I don't know what happened to me. It just, the confidence came back. But what ended up happening, I did the whole speech very powerfully and without cards, which when kids are in junior high school, they're using cards.
Of course.
So the broadcasting teacher, we were fortunate enough at that time to have a broadcasting teacher, and he recruited me for the broadcasting team. The first thing that he started me on was sports. It seems like every job I've ever had in media starts with sports. So when I did sports, I didn't play sports. My mother kind of kept me in the arts.
Right.
So in 7th grade, I didn't know anything, like scores. What are you talking about? Like, okay, 8th note. So I wrote, the very first script I wrote was partially intertwining music with sports.
Oh, okay.
So the teacher was so impressed. He's like, okay, we're going to have you on every single month doing the specials. So that's really where the interest started. And then you're also talking about the time that Oprah comes on.
Right.
And Oprah was such a huge influence to so many
Absolutely,
people.
yes.
And so people were watching after school special. I was watching
Oprah.
So
Yes.
that really starts the thinking. And it continued into high school. I was always like president of the class, doing broadcasting, doing all different kinds of things, which is probably why it translates into adulthood, because we were very, very pushed and motivated to be a Renaissance person. And my first internship actually goes back to KYW 1060 News Radio's program, which was in Philadelphia as a senior in high school.
Right, because Cherry Hill's right there.
Right.
Okay.
And they had a special thing, I think it derived from the MOVE issue that was going on in the media, and we were there talking about that in particular news story. So that was like a little